Hey y'all, welcome to Fitting and Homemaking. Today I am so excited because we are finally going to be making the first of our cozy fall recipes. Y'all, I've been waiting for this for so long. It is now officially fall when I'm filming this, and I'm so happy. So let's get right into it. Today we are going to be making apple oatmeal cookies. And the only part that I've kind of pre-prepared is I have gone ahead and peeled and diced up an apple, and I used a Fuji apple just because I am so painfully slow at peeling any kind of fruit and dicing it up. So I have pre-done that so that I don't just have to, speed up that portion of the filming like 10 to 20 times. All right, let's go ahead and get started. This recipe is from Live Well, Bake Well. Is that what it's called? No, Live Well, Bake Often. Sorry, messed that up. I will link the recipe in the description below, so definitely go and check it out. There's another recipe that I'd like to make that is also from the same website, so it's a really great resource. Go and check them out. Let's get started by preheating our oven. If I'm looking down this way, it's because that's where my computer is so that I can, see the recipe. So let's go ahead and preheat the oven to 350. I always just have to check that no one's left a pan in there or anything. All right, I have my baking sheets over here with my silicone mats. It's just doing that for 2 baking sheets. And, I actually forgot to get my bowls. Let me go get a bowl for my dry ingredients. I did go ahead, if you watched any of my other baking videos where I had to use the stand mixer, I did go ahead and put the bowl in so that you guys didn't have to struggle watching me try to put the bowl in. Let me go get a bowl for my dry ingredients though, and a whisk. Let's use this green bowl. All right, folks, sorry about that. And I need a spoon. Actually, we'll just use this one. Spoon for the flour. These guys need to give me a little bit of space. All right, so essentially it's putting all of the dry ingredients together, then putting all the wet ingredients together, and then putting the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients, right? That's generally how baking works. This is just all-purpose flour. I do have a glass jar of it in there, but I'm trying to use the stuff that doesn't fit in the glass jar up. This is 1 cup of all-purpose flour, spooned and leveled. Let's go ahead and get that. It's been quite a while since I made this recipe, mostly because I feel like the peeling and the cutting of the apple is intimidating to me. Not intimidating, but like really seems time-consuming. But honestly, it didn't take me that long. It really didn't take me that long. All right, that is 1 cup of flour. I need a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then the recipe calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, which I do not have, and it says in the recipe that you can just add a 1/4 teaspoon extra of ground cinnamon, or you can just omit it. So I'm just gonna do an extra 1/4 teaspoon of the cinnamon here. So it's 1 teaspoon and a 1/4. That was a generous 1/4 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Let's see. Baking soda. Now I need to get some more baking soda because I've been using this for cleaning more than baking. There we go. Let's see, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And in a lot of baking recipes, I omit the salt, but I've been including it in lately, and it does add a little bit just of an extra kind of dimension to the flavor. Ooh, that's too much. All right. As a family who does not, I'm not gonna try that. As a family who does not eat much salt, overpouring that would be a little bit yucky for us. All right. All right, right, then we whisk this. Just had to go down. I thought we waited to put in the rolled oats, but you can see I like using these small whisks because the whisk sections at the bottom, do we call them sections? The tines of the whisk? These guys, I'm not sure what you call those, but they're closer than the bigger whisk, so I feel like it mixes it in better. And for some reason, sometimes in baked goods, especially with baked goods with baking soda in them, I feel like if you don't really whisk it in well enough, you can taste the baking soda like in clumps, and that's really off-putting. All right. All right, so that's looking pretty good to me, pretty uniform. All right, then we need 1 3/4 cups of old-fashioned oats. And I eat oatmeal for breakfast, so my 1/8 of a cup stays in there because I use that for, here it is, for breakfast. Actually, I can probably just pour this pretty easy, can't I? So used to scooping out of here, I guess. The concentration of measuring. 1. All right, and then what did I say, 3/4? Yes. And this one does actually have, it has additional tick marks on here, so I don't have to use a different one. I just need to remember to stop pouring. All right, that's 3/4 cup. Done with the oats. All right, and we stir this up, mix them in. I hope y'all had a wonderful first day of your fall. Last night I watched a video by With Love Christina, and they were celebrating Hobbit Day, which sounds like the most fun thing on earth, but she put together a menu that went through all of the Hobbit meals, and they did just chill Hobbit-y things, and it looked like the most amazing time. Highly recommend that video, With Love Christina. I'll link it down below because it was just so relaxing and just the right amount of chill and coziness and serotonin boost that I needed before bedtime last night. All right, so 1/2 cup of unsalted butter. We are going to go ahead and beat the butter and then the sugars together for 1 to 2 minutes. So just, I call that creaming the butter and the sugars. I don't know if that's an accurate term, but so we have softened butter. This is room temperature. You can see it kind of like it's a little bit squishy. Yeah. And it's a 1/2 cup, so 1 stick. And let me get our butter knife real quick. This just has butter on it from when I used it to put butter on toast this morning. Yes, I had oatmeal and toast this morning because we have some sourdough bread that needs to be eaten before it gets a little bit too hard. But I just find it's easier, even when it's softened, to cut it up. All right, there we go. Sorry, my hands were just really slippery after that. Okay, now how much of the sugars do we need? We need a 1/2 cup of light brown sugar packed, and my 1/2 cup guy is like pretty warped, so I generally try not to use him. So I'll do the 1/4 cup twice, And I don't have light brown sugar, I just have dark brown sugar, but that should be absolutely fine. So that's, ooh, I almost put it in the wrong thing. Did you see that? Did you see that? You guys are distracting me again. That's a half cup of brown sugar. I have another bag of brown sugar. I might see if I can consolidate those two. All right, and then how much granulated sugar? A quarter cup of granulated sugar. All right, we'll go a little bit lighter on that since it is a darker brown sugar. Let's see. All right, and I think I said before that we just cream this together for 1 to 2 minutes or until fully combined. Mix in the egg and vanilla extract after that. All right, here we go. Or maybe not. There we go. All right, that looks good. It's just putting some stuff up while we did that. All right. Mix in the egg and the vanilla extract. Okay. Egg, vanilla extract. Oh, this needs to go back in my oatmeal thing. Pause, excuse me. And that's the oven saying that it is preheated. So let's see, I think it's just the one egg. One egg at room temperature, and you can see my egg's a little bit sweaty. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Ooh. Eggshell was a little bit thinner than anticipated. Here, I'll just dump it out so that we don't get stuff everywhere. Sorry, that was a very messy egg crack. All right, that, and then what did I say, a teaspoon of vanilla? Yes. That would be this guy here. Ooh, I'm gonna need some more vanilla. Hopefully there's enough in here. Normally I just kind of eyeball it, but. Oh. Definitely need more vanilla extract. All right, we'll just put that in the trash. All right. think I need to reset the mixer. It seems to not be reaching all the way down in the bowl, but we'll wait for next time to do that. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, then we just need to add the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. Those are not words. Add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. Have you ever gotten to a point where you say one word so many times it like ceases to sound like a word? Anyway, ingredients is today's word. So we're going to put in the dry ingredients, and then we are going to put in the apples. That looks pretty good. And then I'm not going to use the mixer to put the apples in. We'll get this. Actually, I should use this one. We'll get it off the mixer here and do that. Always best to unplug it before sticking your hand in an electrical appliance. Oops, definitely got some of the dry ingredients on the top there. All right. Not nearly as hard to take it off as it is to put on this bowl. So this is what we're looking like now. And since it's an oatmeal cookie, it is, you know, it's pretty thick, right? All right, so I'm gonna spread this out and try to put some of these apples in. Definitely recommend using a less flexible spatula for this. Like this one is, it doesn't have a ton of bend to it. Try to get it so that most of the apple bits are sticking in somewhere. All right, that looks pretty good to me. Now, I'm someone who, even though I love baking, I don't make cookies too often. So you know these cookies are really good because if I'm going through the effort to make cookies. But part of the reason why I don't make cookies very often, see if I can do this without hitting my head, is I lack the attention span for multiple pans of things going in the oven. Let me just clean up my mess a little bit here so I have room to work. And inevitably, I always burn at least one pan of cookies because I just forget that I'm doing it. And I just get into doing something else and get distracted, and then I forget, and then inevitably a pan of cookies burns because, you know, cookies they don't take a long time to bake, you know, because they're little. Whereas a cake or a pie or a quiche, I can just go ahead and pop that in the oven and set one timer. I don't have to remember to reset the timers because I do set timers with cookies too. You would think, oh, that's an easy problem to solve, Sarah, just set a timer. Yes, set a timer. That works for the first batch, but then I have to remember to reset the timer after I put the second batch in. And a lot of times that is where failure happens. So this says 1.5 tablespoon cookie scoop. I don't have a cookie scoop. Let me take off my rings real quick. So I'm just using this actual tablespoon. But I'm just gonna kind of mush these in and put them on here. And if I'm remembering correctly, you don't need to put a ton of room in between these, just a little bit of room. Kind of mush in the apples more if I can. All right, and that's totally gonna be in the way there. We don't need you anymore, thank you. But I am really looking forward to these. They smell delicious. I eat oatmeal for breakfast every day, so obviously I like oatmeal. I like apples. I think I mentioned before that this was one medium-sized Fiji apple that I used. I'm someone who I don't really like soft apples that much. Like a Gala apple is about as soft of an apple that I enjoy. But I do prefer like the Honeycrisp and the Fuji, and even on occasion the Granny Smith, even though it's like a whole different, well, I was gonna say that, and that's super obvious. It's a whole different kind of apple, but I mean, it feels like it's almost not the same fruit as an apple because the taste is just so different. That one might have been a little small. Pay attention to what you're doing, Sarah. But anyways, these just scream fall to me, and it's nice when you're getting the big bags of apples. My kids eat a lot of apples. Like on the way to daycare, we usually slice up an apple for them to have on the car ride in. Speaking of hobbits, my goodness, my kids' eating schedule are kind of similar to hobbits. We have breakfast at home when they wake up, right? And I think I've probably shared this before, but we have breakfast at home. Oops, that guy's a little bit. When they wake up, then they usually have a snack of some sort, like an apple or whatever, on the way to daycare. And then at daycare, like around 8:15, 8:30, they get another breakfast. And then they have lunch like between 11 and 12. And then most days my daughter still naps. And my son usually takes like a 2-hour nap. And then they go play outside and they have a snack. And then my husband picks them up around 4-ish. Now I only have one silicone mat that's like a true half sheet, so we're going to make do with this one. And he brings them a snack. And then we have supper usually between 5 and 5:30. So, I mean, I feel like that's, how many meals is that? First breakfast, snack, second breakfast, lunch, snack, supper. Yeah, that's 7 meals. I think that's how many meals that she said hobbits do in her video. So, I mean, if we could all make that a thing, that'd be fantastic. All right, and I'm waiting to put that in because I'm in the mode of spooning cookies right now. and my hands are really messy. But I will put that in just as soon as I have this one done. That needs a little bit more dough, I think. Here, this guy doesn't have many. There you go. All right. For me, it is 10:46, which means I'm doing okay on time. I have an 11 o'clock meeting that I have to go to. So that's always nice if I can get the main part of this done before then. And I'm really happy I'm being able to film this today because my filming schedule got really messed up with my husband being sick and my son being sick. And then this week I have a work conference that I'm going to on Wednesday and Thursday, which aren't normally my filming days, but just anything different kind of like mentally throws me off a little bit like that. So I have to like really prepare for the change. And then my husband has this Friday off for unknown reasons. He told me and I was listening and it registered then. I just can't remember. Maybe because he has to work late the night before or something like that. And like everyone has to work late the night before. I think it was something like that. But normally I would also film on Friday. So had to definitely plan ahead for that. Get in there, guys. Get in there. That one needs a little bit more dough to cement it together on the side, I think. There we go. All right. Oops, an apple escaped. Let me go. Let's see, it says bake for 12 to 15 minutes or until the tops of the cookies are set. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in. I am gonna put them in both at the same time. We'll see if I need to rotate them a little bit. Because I know that does change the baking time a little bit. And I'm gonna set my timer on my watch because I tend to respond better to that. What did I say, 12 to 15? So we'll go, I'm gonna say 13 just because there's 2 in there. All right, we'll do that. And I'm actually going to just get out a piece of parchment. Let me wipe off this hand first. And go ahead and finish dolloping. Oh my goodness, y'all. Let's do it that way so it doesn't curl so badly. I'm gonna go ahead and finish spooning these out onto the parchment so that it makes it, they're already like pre-measured, and then I can get my hands washed and then I won't be worrying about that during this meeting. I can just kind of quietly transfer them in the background. Right. Let's see how many more we have left, because that's 2 dozen in the oven right now. And they are smaller cookies, which, I mean, if it was just me, I like a bigger cookie, right? Because I like sweets. But since my kids will likely be eating these, the smaller cookies are nice for portion sizes. So it gives them a little treat without it being too much. Holy smokes, that was loud, so sorry. I will make that not so loud. And I know the house is about to smell so yummy. I really wish I was like into fall candles and stuff, but a lot of the scents just smell so much like chemicals to me, and I'm really sensitive to chemical scents. Like I was walking by a crowd of people the other day, and they were, you know, most of them were early 20s-ish. And just the amount of scent that they were wearing. And it's not like anyone was like individually doused, like to an offensive level or anything like that, but just the group on a whole, it was just so much scent to deal with. It was like walking through a perfume store, and it was just like this chemical scent cloud. I don't know if other people feel that way about perfume. I have one perfume that I very occasionally will wear, like if my husband and I are having a date night or going to a special event or something like that. But it's like a roll-on one, so it's more of a body oil rather than an aerosol perfume. All right, where can I stick this? This guy needs some more glue. And it's made with like natural oils from like jasmine, gardenia, so it's not a heavy, strong scent. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's almost a full another pan. I am going to, let's see, we have about 9.5 minutes left on the timer. I'm going to go ahead and start getting this stuff cleaned up, and I will see you when we take the cookies out of the oven. All right, y'all, this is the last pan of cookies to come out. You can see I've got my first one and then the slightly darker second pan because, of course, cookies, not paying enough attention to that second pan. These have been cooling on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes. They recommend 5 to 10 minutes because they are a little bit softer and kind of need to solidify, set once they come out a little bit better. But then you transfer them to a cooling rack, and these look very yummy. Come here, you. And after this, I have just made myself a fresh cup of tea. And we are going to try these once I'm done chasing them around the baking sheet. There we go. That one was nice. There we go. And the little itty bitty mini one, that was all that was left over. All right, y'all, here is a closer up view. The lighting is not doing these justice. They are not as beige. They are definitely more kind of pumpkin-y color. But there we are. Here's my tea. Let me get my plate. This guy looks delicious, so we'll try him. All right, let's be honest. One cookie is not enough, right? One cookie is never enough. So this is what they look like. We've got our amazing, yummy apple chunks. I'm just having it with some British blend breakfast tea with some milk in it. Okay, not scalding hot still. So let's go ahead and break this open. And they're nice and gooey is kind of the wrong word because it's not that wet, but they're nice and soft and chewy. So that's a really nice oatmeal cookie recipe, even without the apples in it. I'm gonna take a bite of this one because it has way more apples in it. I don't know how much of that you can see, but it's so good. The outside edges are just a little bit crisp. And it's the perfect amount of chewy and flavorful. Not gonna lie, I could eat all of the cookies, which I very carefully moved out of the way. But yeah, these are delicious. They might be a little, well, I know they are a little bit fragile to transport, so I would just put them, see, they're even falling apart, just me holding them up. So I would put them in a hard Tupperware and then, you know, like layer some parchment rather than putting them in a bag like you might be able to do with some more sturdy cookies. So that's going to be it for today's video. I'm so happy I was able to share this cozy fall recipe with you. I will link it down in the description below. Looking forward to our next cozy fall recipe, which is going to be sweet potato biscuits, which I'm super excited about. I haven't made biscuits in a while, and I absolutely love biscuits. So very much looking forward to that, more for myself than for y'all, but also for y'all. If you are interested in more fall recipes, please, more recipes. Go down, comment down below. Go ahead, like the video, subscribe. Let me know that you like this kind of content, and I will definitely do more of it. And I have some other fall-themed ideas coming up for the channel that are not baking-based, if baking is not quite your thing, if you're here more for the cleaning and the housekeeping and that sort of thing. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you the next time. Bye.